All right, so a lot of y'all wanted a follow-up video to know if Splice actually fixed my issue on YouTube. And yes, they did fix my issue. My video is back monetized, and they did what they said they were going to do. But let's talk about a few things I do want to clear up that some other people have put out here into YouTube land. And let's go ahead and discuss that.
Bolo!
I was actually going to be doing another video today. That's why I got all this stuff in the background or whatever. But I want to come on here and actually have this conversation with you guys about the whole Splice situation. All right, so I knew once I made the first video about the Splice content ID copyright situation, I knew a lot of people were going to make their own assumptions, and I knew some people were going to make their own videos, which is cool. You know, this is YouTube. You're allowed to say what you want or give your ideas on what you think what really happened, even though a lot of people have their own ideas on what happened. But I'm going to go ahead and kind of tell you guys what actually happened. Okay, so number one, if you guys have not known what happened, I was actually doing a live in March. I actually used a Splice sample that was supposed to be whitelisted. I used that sample on my live, and of course, when the live got over with, Content ID said that that Splice sample belonged to somebody else. Okay, so somebody actually made a song with that sample. They, I guess, got signed or whatever, and then Warner Music Group actually claimed that sample as theirs since the artist was signed to them. I say UMG on my second video, but it was actually Warner Music Group that claimed the sample. And of course, they said it was theirs. They had, you know, how they do the whole thing. You have to go, got to get it copyrighted and everything like that. And basically, they came and said that they owned the sample, and the Content ID hit me up on that, even though that sample was supposed to be whitelisted on the site. So I went in, did everything I was supposed to do with YouTube to tell them, like, hey, this was a Splice sample. I'm allowed to use this. I'm a Splice member. Everything is all good. Well, after about 27 days, they said, nope, we're the owners. So YouTube was like, okay, they say that they're the owners. So we got to go ahead and, you know, let you know that all your revenue and stuff like that, except for like your super chats and stuff like that. Now, my super chats and everything, that's cool, but just the revenue made from ads from the video was going to go to the actual artist. And like I said before, it's on like 20 bucks. Like right now it's like $24 or something like that. But at the end of the day, it's still $24 that I'm losing. You know, I want my coins. I was a little confused on, you know, why would that happen? Because, you know, Content ID should not be doing that. So what I did was, I reached out to Splice, and then I made a video, and then Splice actually reached out to me. So when Splice reached out to me, they sent me an email, okay? Now, I know the attorney on here, Top Music Attorney, she makes some pretty good content. She actually made a video about my situation. And it was a pretty decent video. It was nothing like super bad, but I know she had, I guess, a bad encounter with Splice. Her encounter was much different than my encounter. So let's keep that 100%. Like, I didn't have any lawyers involved or anything. Basically, they sent me an email. They want to know if, you know, I was willing to do a Zoom call with them. And I said, yeah. So we got on the Zoom call, and it was different people from different departments. And everything was really cool. And what I really liked about the phone call was it was like a very lighthearted call. You know, everybody was real chill. And they listened. They listened to what I was saying, because my main thing about that call was to make sure that the average user, the average Joe, the average, you know, Juliet that had this issue would be heard the same way that I was heard. So basically that was the main thing. I wanted to make sure that if somebody who was not in my shoes, who didn't have a big following on YouTube or IG, or didn't have any success in the music industry, well, not saying that you didn't have any success, but somebody who didn't have the channels to reach out to certain people, would you be heard the same way I was heard? And that's what my whole thing was about. And they listened and they reassured me that, yes, if it comes to the point to where content ID basically strikes you down that second time, or that first time, not the second time, because the second time will lead you to a copyright strike. If the first time you try to go in and you try to fight the content ID and it does not work, then reach out to Splice. But most of the time, it usually goes through and it works. And I've had situations where that happened and it worked, no problems. This time I just couldn't understand it because I did the same things and the content ID was not trying to hear it. So at this point, we were on the call, everything was good. Everything was great. No lawyers involved. And I do want to say this. A lot of people are like coming to the comment section like, Bolo, you need to make sure and get with a lawyer and do this and do that. What a lot of y'all fail to understand is when you're doing music and when you're just doing anything in entertainment at this level, you have to have a lawyer. And I have a very high-powered attorney, okay? He's a very high-powered attorney. He's like one of the top attorneys in Atlanta. He represents a lot of high-end clients, a lot of athletes, actors, everything, okay? He's on a lot of boards and he's the head of this thing and head of that thing. And I was very lucky to get at him because everybody just can't get at him. And we were introduced by a mutual friend, and that's how I got a hold of him. And we're real cool. I can call him anytime and everything. So, everything is good. So I have a really, really good attorney, like very good attorney. One of his top clients that y'all may know is Rick Ross. He actually represents Rick Ross. So any business deals that Rick Ross does or whatever, he takes care of all that. He's a litigation attorney. He's one of the attorneys that get to the bread. So if I have any issues or whatever, he gets to the bread. And with every situation I've had with, artists or doing any type of label deals or signing artists or just dealing with any type of placements with my beats, he gets me the bread. And I really don't have any problems because a lot of people respect him. And I'm not going to say his name because I know a lot of y'all be trying to look up people and be trying to hit him up. He's not the kind of attorney you can just hit up like that, because his clientele is really high. And then plus, I know a lot of y'all will be trying to hit him up, be like, yeah, I need an attorney. And and for what he charges, some of y'all might not want to pay that. I'm not saying that you can afford it, but some of y'all might not want to pay it. A lot of times with my stuff, they just take it out of whatever deal I have. They give him the money from whatever deal we have, and I don't necessarily have to pay him, but I do still have to pay him like for certain things. Like if I have to draft a contract for an artist or something like that, I got to pay him for that. Or if I got something on YouTube that I need him to look over before I sign it, he doesn't charge me as much, but he does charge me a fee to look over these agreements and to make sure that everything is cool. So yeah, I do have a really good attorney, very good attorney. All right. So, with that being said, this situation did not require an attorney, and Splice did not come at me sideways and nothing like that. And when I got on the call, one thing I did like about the situation was that I was talking to other musicians. And that was actually very cool because a lot of these companies that do stuff like this, that have, any type of interest inside of music, a lot of these people are not musicians. And one thing I liked about the Zoom is I'm looking on the call and I see, one of the guys had a full studio, like a whole bunch of equipment in there, had an MPC in there too. And it was very cool to see that, and to see that, this person is a part of a company, and he's actually a musician as well. And some other people are musicians as well that I talked to. And a lot of people that work for Splice are musicians. So that was actually a very cool thing to know. And I got to know some of the background of some of the people and everything. And we had a really lighthearted, very good conversation about it. And, and like I said before, they listened. So yeah, it wasn't no like, oh, they sent the lawyers and they forced me to do this and do that. Nah, that's not going to happen. If anybody sends any type of lawyers to me, you guaranteed that they will be hearing from my lawyer. My lawyer is a very good litigation attorney. He fights for his clients. The law firm he works for, the law firm he works for is a very respected law firm here in Atlanta. And yeah, I'm good. I'm kind of covered in that situation. So I can continue to make my music while they fight in the background or whatever, it is with that. But nah, it wasn't no they sent lawyers and they forced me to do anything. No, I had a great conversation with them and everything was good. Okay. And what that did was it kind of reassured me that they had my back and they went ahead and got everything cleared up. So yes, Splice cleared up everything. I have my monetization back. It is all good. So if you guys have this type of issue where you get a content ID claim on your stuff, just understand that there are ways to get this thing done. Okay, first thing you want to do is go to YouTube, tell them like, hey, I'm a member of Splice or whatever company. I do have a license to use this certain material, and if the person who owns the content or who claims that they own the content, if that person does not respond in 30 days, or if they respond back and say, hey, yes, they are allowed to do this, then YouTube will, usually just take the content ID claim down. But in certain situations, you got people who are a little greedy, and some of these larger companies are not even trying to hear the small guy, okay? And in this situation, I guess they must have thought I was a small guy, and it didn't work. But in some situations, you might do the first content ID thing and it might not be cleared. So what you have to do from that point is you have to hit up Splice from there. I talked to the actual guy who tries to help out, and in that situation, they will try to reach back out to YouTube for you. Now, the thing about this is YouTube can be a little finicky because it's a huge, you got to think this is Google. So sometimes it takes a little bit longer, and it's, sometimes in these situations, depending on how many requests that they have over at Splice, it could take a little bit of time. But if you hit them up, usually they will get back to you at a pretty decent pace. Okay, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. His main job is not to just, take emails and to, make sure that you guys are, good. His main situation is to make sure to get these samples cleared on YouTube. And as we all know, Splice has a gazillion and one samples to get, whitelisted on YouTube. But at the same time, he does take time out to try to make sure that customers of Splice are good when it comes to content ID issues. So I hope this clears up a few things. I'm still going to be using Splice. I'm not going to be stopped using them anytime soon. And yeah, I'm going to continue to be making some beats with them and continue to make some new content with Splice and some other companies as well that kind of do the same thing. So yeah, everything is all good. I'm safe. We're good. Everything is good. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys learned something from it. And like I always say, peace out.